As soon as you get on first base with rope flow, you can score runs forever.
Literally within the first week, you get people of all ages, but you get people in their 50s and 60s like, well, I have better balance now.
People do need to figure out a practice. They do need to figure out a way to move better. And I think the rope flow allows them that chance, allows them that opportunity to practice something.
Well, what type of response have you gotten over the years from martial artists who've truly took it?
Nothing but positive response from the martial art community. Nsima, tell your story about your very first impression of rope flow.
When I first saw it, it looked kind of wacky. Why am I going to do that? Why am I going to?
Right.
What's the benefit of this if it doesn't help me knock somebody out with power?
Right.
It's not a martial art. But then you realize the intent of this isn't necessarily just to knock people out. It feeds your understanding of movement.
David Weck, welcome back to the show.
Oh, we're live?
We're live. We're going.
Running.
We're running.
Ryan, do a good job with that video.
We're going to be talking about running. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. Movement, locomotion. You know anything about any of this stuff?
Well, I mean, talking about walking is one of my favorite things to do.
And I think a great place to start is with, people have been seeing Nsima twirling these ropes around, and they think he lost his mind. They're like, what the hell's going on? Why is he so fascinated with this rope thing? And I think over a period of time, I've actually noticed a video that you put up recently. Your movement looked way better than it has when you first started rope flow.
Absolutely.
Which is quite obvious because you can move better off of doing the rope. And you're the inventor of the rope flow. And I think it's really important to point out. It's important to speak about what is this for?
So basically, the secret to my success and my superpower is athletic inadequacy. Okay? So if I walk into a room, I'm not the best man physically in that room genetically, okay? So I'm just not. And when I was 26 years old, I was living in Manhattan. I was personal training and acting. And I was like, I want to learn some fighting. Never studied fighting, right? I was football. Our idea of a fight in high school, oh yeah.
I would say at one point you were very jacked and tan. And I'd also say you look great.
Thank you.
You're in your 50s, right?
Yeah, it's minoxidil, baby. Yeah. Micro needling.
So I wouldn't sell yourself short on your genetics.
No, because my intellect is elite. So physically, I'm a B+, because we have to be honest, okay? We're not going to.
I would have went with C, but that's okay.
Fuck. It's one higher than D.
That's right. That's right.
So, but anyway, so I sign up for Wing Chun, right? Bruce Lee's first art. Mm-hmm. Ip Man. So I proceed to take these classes, and the instruction was terrible. One of the drills was line up, face each other. Okay, chain punch to the solar plexus. Okay, shift. And then there's the asshole who's actually hitting you, right? And, I'm learning how to get hit in a vulnerable spot. But I read the books, and I observed, and I studied it, and I got nowhere, all right? When I moved out to California, I was into using a stick. I was doing stick flow, staff flow, because it's an ultimate teacher, and it's the fundamental tool weapon of humankind.
It's kind of like Kali.
Yeah, but I was using a bow staff, not a short.
Oh, okay,
right?
Okay.
So the importance of the longer one is you get both hands engaged at the same time, right? And the thing that's the impediment to reaching absolute fluid perfect with a stick is you got to let go of it, right? So there's not instantaneous connection of right and left rotationally. So the Weck method logo, right, is up, down, all around. Up and down, that's gravity. So we have the where, center of the earth, and we have the when, 9.8 meters per second squared accelerating. So technically, we're all falling right now, but we're up against the ground that prevents us from dropping, but we're still falling, right? So it's a present thing. And I was studying everything I could, Feldenkrais and Rolf, and understanding how the horizontal polarity of the shoulders can help suspend the vertical polarity of the spine. And if you don't understand how to use the traps as that diamond, up on top, well, then you're leaving so much on the table. So I invented a thing called the Quick Hands Bola Trainer, which is 2 balls and an elastic cord. Because what I was doing was I took a hacky sack and an elastic cord, and I was experimenting with this pendulum effect where if I track my eyes and arc and I have a hand-eye coordination that if I get good enough, I don't even have to look anymore, right? So it's eye-hand coordination until it's not, in a sense, with that. And so I was doing all these pendulum arcs and stuff, and I found myself at the end of my set, I would bounce it up and catch it. And then I'm like, oh. And I had a lot of fun, and I tinkered many, many hours to download the skill. And while we're talking, find the quick hands bowl video, because you'll play that one too. Go to YouTube, find the quick hands bowler, and it's me with my shirt off in blue jeans in different locations.
I do want to mention, though, a cool thing about that is like, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, but that's another capacity that people kind of leave on the table, especially when they just start training in the gym, right? Hand-eye coordination, quickness. It's just
because
not
it doesn't
thought about.
It doesn't change the way you look.
Yeah.
And it doesn't increase the pounds on a bench. Right? So why am I going to waste my time, right? Yeah, there you go. So that right there is the quick hands bowler trainer. That was just a prototype on it, but it's a cat toy. And I can get that thing going faster than 110 miles an hour. We put a speed gun on it that capped at 110, and we got XXX.
Dude, this thing needs to come back, man.
It'll come back.
I want it back. I want it.
Listen, Nsima, if Duncan had invented the yo-yo in 204, whenever it was, 2002, he would have failed.
Yeah.
How you going to compete against electronics?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did see RFK was doing something like this, but it was hooked to maybe like an app or something. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
the
box
red
ball.
ball.
The box ball.
Yeah. I have one of those. It's not as fun, though. It's not as fun as
Nsima,
this.
did you take the red ball that usually goes here?
Hey, that's nasty.
No, I'm kidding. Cut. So anyway, let me
I want to ask you.
Let me connect the link.
I want to ask you a question in here because I think it's important. You mentioned like not being able to use the traps. What does that mean?
What I mean is if you don't understand how to expansively spread the horizontal polarity, you don't suspend the vertical as well. So it's all about getting that bilateral perfect where there's a suspension that's better, and then learn how to coil and figure eight on that. So I have the figure eight.
Using like your traps and your collarbone.
No. The traps are basically, you have to engage them in a way that depresses the shoulders and allows them to expand. And when you think traps, but you got to think the bottom of the traps.
Something like protraction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Internal torsion.
Internal torsion.
Decompress the shoulders so the shoulders go down.
No, think about this. Think about getting your elbows to come out, and then just do this, and make your elbows come as far out as possible and a little bit forward.
Oh, a little bit forward.
A little bit forward. And the goal is that we want to suspend the spine easier.
I see. Like stretching the spine kind of through your, your core.
What it does is if I'm walking on a tightrope, do I want to stick this big or do I want to stick that big? A long horizontal gives me a better suspension of the vertical. And it just is what it is, right? So, and it's good to ask questions so we can understand or we can describe and understand what it is. And with that understanding, we can consciously now start to target its improvement.
You're kind of unsquishing yourself. Like you might be like this tall and you're trying to like kind of elongate.
Most of the forces we experience in regular life and sports is compressive force, most of it. And so any opportunity to get an expansive capacity is going to complement the compressive capacity, right? And in particular for the carryover to doing better things in life, right? Because unless your goal is to win at weightlifting, why would you allow weightlifting to compromise your movement when you can just as easily make it enhance your movement?
Much agreed.
But if you want to total, 3,000 pounds, well, you might have to waddle around for a couple of years, I mean, it's pick your activity.
Yeah, I loved waddling around. It was great.
Yeah, it's amazing to be that mana. When I ate 4 Ben and Jerry's.
He waddled too. Just
Not
not,
like
as
you,
bad,
man.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
he didn't
not as
waddle-
bad as you.
No, he didn't waddle quite like me, but
Yeah,
it
listen.
was still good.
Hey, but
Yes,
who was the
yes.
better power lifter? You had the better waddle. You were the better power lifter, right?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
I couldn't even waddle for that long without being out of breath, turning red and getting sweaty.
getting sweaty. Yeah, that's exactly it. I want to take it back to the bola and how it got to the
And
rope.
the rope flow and everything.
Yeah, so basically, I spent 2 years on that bola thing getting good, right? So my hand coordination. And then what I would do is I would snap it out and catch it here, right? Because if 110 miles an hour is coming at you and you catch it here, when another man is going to throw a punch,
Yeah, you're in like a Mayweather position,
you're,
kind of.
you're less afraid of that, right? Because you know how to catch it. And you're not afraid. You don't stand in. And missing small is the whole idea. Mayweather wants you to touch the hair on his chin and go no deeper, no further, and he's going to follow you before you get back, he hit you. And he's the best that's ever done it in terms of genetics, the nature and the nurture. He was born with it and he was born into it. If your father and your uncles are like, world title boxing guys, your father would have been, but he got shot, right? Your uncle was, right? And so he's weaned on that.
Yeah.
So that's why he's so good. And boxing's one of those things where, okay, well, we're going to find out pretty quick if you know what you're doing.
George Foreman used to kind of throw almost like a double punch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right behind his jab was a straight right. And
Yeah.
it's just so heavy-handed, he'd kind of go dink, dink.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
was just like right, that first one was kind of almost knock your gloves out of the way to measure you a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
And that second one was just enough
Well-
to touch you. And if he touched you, you were done.
Well, Deontay Wilder, when he's dominating an opponent, he'll literally like post up. You're back in the corner, and I'm literally like, okay.
Got the hand way out.
I'm like, okay. Yeah, boom.
Almost knocked the microphone out.
Yes. So anyway, back to this progression to the discovery of rope flow. So what happened was I had already been spiraling and working my hands, and I've always been fascinated with the hands. So I developed tremendous capacity with the hard, which is the stick, and tremendous capacity with the soft, which is the bola. The bola was too challenging for most people because there's a 10-foot wall right after the starting line.
Yeah.
Right? So I went to New York City in 2004, and I was presenting at a fitness conference in New York, and Buddy Lee, the jump rope superstar, was presenting. So our booths, we had booths too, were next to each other. So every hour he's putting on a show with the jump rope. And I had the bola. And I'm like, oh, he's so athletic. Here's the bola. Let's see if you can get good with that. And I found myself observing him like every hour. And I'm like, there's a lot of reps that he's not jumping through. Like, there's a lot of reps, right? And so I thought to myself, when I jumped rope in high school for 20 minutes on a hard floor, my 40 was getting slower and my vertical was getting lower. So I stopped immediately because low amplitude, trillions of reps is not going to do much for your ability to explode, a big power, right? So I knew that jumping rope would beat me up and it's not going to make me more powerful. The idea of jump rope is so you can move without moving. I can change my stance to change a power hand without having to move my center because I just changed my feet. Boom, boom, right? Mike Tyson's like the best example of going from power punch to power punch because one power punch set up the next power punch. So with that proficiency, Buddy gave me his best speed rope. And so I'm flying into San Diego, land 10:30 at night or whatever. I go into my backyard in Ocean Beach and I say, I'm going to get just as good as Buddy Lee. And I'm going to do it by not jumping through for 30 days. I will not jump through this rope. And it's actually hard to do at first because you're so conditioned that if you see a rope, I'm supposed to do that. It's fun to do, right? So anytime I had the urge to jump it, I would just trap it. I put my heel down and just bang. And so instead of jumping, it was just a redirect, right? And my logic was, what I want to do is I want every molecule of my mass participating, integrated, and perfect with land, load, launch, load, explode, right? And the rope gives you a unified down up of everything down, everything up. And a jump rope is the opposite. Both sides utilize. The jump rope is a syncopated where hands are down, feet are up. So it's not giving you the neurological sequence of locomotion when you're trying to go fast or far. It's giving you locomotion where you can be in a little ring and change and move around that guy like Lomachenko, right? So in that process of 30 days, I just said, oh my God, I can download Wing Chun now. Like, because if you teach me without the teacher and you tell me to put my hand here or put my hand here, right? How the fuck do I know what I'm doing if there's no sensory feedback from where my hand, like what's it supposed to do? What's it supposed to feel like? Mm-hmm. And unless you have an amazing, generous teacher, you're never going to feel it. You're going to be fighting like a dummy using force and not skill.
Wait, so explain that. Explain why you felt that you would be able to learn that better when you were using the rope. Because I don't think people understand what you mean when you say that.
All right, so basically with the rope, the tin cans are connected by the cord. So you can, with the rope, if I have the rope in my hands, right, and I don't let go of it, then I can't tie a knot. Okay, we could do, a million things or whatever, and it'll always just come back to that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's this instantaneous, moment by moment, everywhere and when in the sequence is right now. I'm getting feedback right now, and the quality of what the rope looks like and feels like is what you're doing to it.
Gotcha.
Right? So it becomes the teacher by providing you the honest feedback.
Yeah.
Right?
It'll hit you when it needs to hit you.
And you'll put it down frustrated and not do it if you're not wise enough to make the investment.
Yeah.
And the ant and the grasshopper. If you're teaching two guys or girls rope flow, right? And one just lost my train of thought. I'm on like
you're talking about getting frustrated.
No,
grasshopper?
Ant grasshopper. Thank you. So if you're teaching two people, one person can get it immediately, right? And the other person, it's going to take them 2 weeks. Well, now it doesn't take 2 weeks because Chris figured out how to teach it better than me. So that, oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm fighting off a cold, and I was on a cruise ship where I didn't sleep for 3 days. So anyway,
you're talking about like being able to teach people some of the stuff.
So basically what happens is the grasshopper gets it easy and doesn't invest in it to go deeper. The tortoise beats the hare. The ant,
right.
Lives through the winter because it's stuck with it.
Yeah.
And you can drill down deeper than that natural, better person when you cultivate it. And it's just like starting a fire, right? It's that gentle little ember. I need to get flame.
The cool thing is that, and we're going to talk more about this, lifting is a skill too. I'm not saying that when I say what I'm about to say, lifting is a skill, doing stuff in the gym is a skill. But the thing is a lot of things that we learn in the gym, as important as they may be for helping you put some muscle on your structure, once you learn how to squat, do a curl, do a pull, it's very simple from there. Yes. From that point, it's like getting your technique better, maybe loading up a little bit more weight. But and I know there can be layers when one becomes very elite. Their foot positioning,
yes,
there are deeper layers, but it's simple when it comes to the coordination of the body. Now, something like this, all these little intricate aspects of what your feet are doing, how you're rotating your shoulders, your scapula, what your arms are doing, what your spine's doing, getting all these things to work together, it can be very frustrating for those who feel that they're not naturally coordinated. But the thing is it teaches you that high level of coordination that athletes who have it naturally have. Yes.
Correct.
The rope will also pull you into position a little bit, especially if you start to advance and use a little heavier rope.
Yeah, well, you don't want to get tired, and efficiency keeps you fresh. So that's another, it's the Rosetta Stone of training modalities. Chris and I were on the plane, and he said to me, I wish there was something else that felt as good as rope flow in terms of like what you feel it doing when you've tapped in. Like as soon as you get on first base with rope flow, you can score runs forever, right? And as your sort of arc of capacity, your young person getting better, and then older person getting worse, your only chance of running the race gracefully with Father Time is efficiency, right? Because the structure's deteriorating at some point, right? But if I can outpace the deterioration with my skill, then I can be the guy who shows up to Saturday morning jiu-jitsu roll and just, you tap because I'm so efficient, I'm so invisible, right? And a rope flow, you tend to take on the qualities of the tools/teachers that you train with. So what kind of athletic qualities do you want? Do you want to be like lightning fast and fluid and integrated all the time? Every molecule of your mass working together to perfect land load launch from the fundamental coil positions of tossing it back and forth from right to left? There's nothing better on God's green earth than a simple piece of seaweed or a vine or, horsehair, whatever the hell I'm making a rope out of. If I have leisure time, I'm going to start playing with the rope. And then I'm going to make one, I'm going to ride on a horse and I'm going to get the calf. Right.
I want to add this in because we have this video of like back in the day when you were showing this early, but it's so cool because I have the rope flow foundations course that I get a lot of people doing. And the coolest thing is literally within the first week, you get people of all ages, but you get people in their 50s and 60s like, well, I have better balance now because they're learning head over foot naturally with the rope.
Naturally. And you're double down pulsing naturally with the rope. Everything down, everything up. When you invest in down and you bet on the right stock, well, you get more return for free, the connective tissue recoil and the fluidity to ride the recoil.
Yeah. And it's like people are literally feeling like less back pain, less compressed, et cetera.
Yes.
Just from that first week input.
Yes.
But it's when you go deeper and deeper and deeper, you get so many more benefits. It's like, and it doesn't beat you up, man.
Here's the thing. You have external objectives, you have internal objectives, right? If my goal is external, I am limited in terms of how far I can go, and I will never even do one order of magnitude.
You're talking about like looks?
No, I'm talking about physical capacity.
Okay.
So if I bench press 100, the likelihood that I'm going to get to 1,000, one order of magnitude, is not even possible. Okay. If you shift to the internal focus, now you can go orders of magnitude deeper. Meaning I was on the cruise ship and the discovery that I made within the last 30 days led to insight where fast is even easier for me now, right? Because I've mastered the art of slow co-motion. Because basically, if you could freeze the frame and you're still in perfect balance, well, then you have perfect balance. If you're passing through imbalance, you don't notice that there's imbalance. 51% balanced doesn't fall down, but you don't want to play with it. You don't want to live on that. 99% balance is a tire that has a pinhole leak in it. It's a spaghetti strainer rather than a bowl, right? And again, what we're looking for is the carryover. And the bridge that rope float does, it ties everything together. So now I suddenly have the capacity to skillfully use my strength for the fundamental equation, which is as simple as shifting one's weight from one foot to the other. You do everything in the air so that when you're on the ground, you're throwing perfect pitches, right? You're hitting home runs. You can send, you can receive, you can express. And now you can unlock the capacity of what you walked in the door with without making any, sarcomere stronger or bigger. But the skill allows you to integrate. And Chris did write down notes for the shit you're going to confirm with Chris, because he's going to be able to tell it in not this tangential, I didn't sleep for 3 days manner. Okay.
Quick question too.
Chris did a PR of like 45 pounds.
Yeah.
One arm press.
Yeah.
From 15 minutes with me.
Yeah.
And that's why he came back. And then I gave him the rope and he devoured it. He was working with like a Frisbee team. He's got every one of these Frisbee guys like doing ropes and doing pulsers. And guess what? They're playing better and they feel better. Right. And that's what he did. And I recognize that he has talents that leave me in the dust on many things. So Weck method is not Weck method without Chris Chamberlain.
Explain this because, you know, I think Kelly Starrett was on the Huberman podcast.
Yes.
He brought up rope flow, but he also brought up the idea of the spinal engine. I think that idea of the spinal engine is starting to proliferate a lot of what people are seeing in their feeds. And I think it'd be great if you could explain that idea, but also how this helps train that type of movement ability.
So specify the question exactly.
The concept of the spinal engine, where the spine helps drive locomotion rather than just the arms and the legs.
Okay.
And how it can tie into what you're doing every day when you just train with the rope for a little bit.
Okay. So if we look at like evolution and you want to, you know, use that as the model, first it's fish, right? And there's Piscean movement is all it is side bend because there's buoyancy. So I don't have a vertical burden, right? I'm floating. Right. And all I got to do is side bend. And there was a scientific study done where they took this, I don't know, certain, viscous material that's a little harder than water and it's cohesive. And they wiggled it back and forth 1 trillion times. And it started to nodally take harder segments and softer segments harder because it's the frequency of the wiggle creates a sine wave, right? A sine curve. And so when you're on that sine curve, right, you get a hard vertebrae, right? Then a soft, the disc, the hard. And it turns out that structure is more biomechanically efficient than all soft, all hard, too much hard here, not enough soft there, right? So we have that articulation of perfection that creates the vertebrae. Now I want to go up on land and go to In-N-Out Burger or something, right? Now the amphibian comes. Now you have the burden of gravity and you're on this frame. You build on what you got.
Yeah.
So if I do that and now suddenly, I'm not going anywhere because I'm on the ground, my most efficient move is that. I didn't spend any energy, but I advanced myself.
Moving like an alligator.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one kind of alligator that runs upright like a mammal. This alligator Otto Bolden sent me a video of this alligator running like a freaking dog.
Wow. Current?
Yeah.
Is this shit in Florida?
I don't know, but Otto Bolden sent me it and it was like, look, dude. And I'm like, wow.
Terrifying.
I didn't know that alligator was alive.
They don't live there.
But so the spinal engine was born really in the water, just side bend. But as soon as you get on land, it's 3D. And so now I have to do this. I can't brace my core and do that, right? That's not going to work.
Brace your core.
There's too many calories and too much exhaustion for that to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Right? This is chill. The paleo diet ultimate is a lizard sitting on a hot rock for a month till a cricket comes by, right? If I don't have to potentiate vertical potential, that could be cold-blooded. All I need to just let the sun, do my metabolism. Right? I'm burning no calories, right? That's sit on a rock. That's the paleo diet, right? So, and they're ripped. So the spinal engine then goes to vertical when you come to a tree. Oh, there's an apple up there. I want to go get it. Well, you took horizontal and now you were incentivized to go vertical. And now suddenly the differentiation of I don't need these for support anymore. I could do anything with these things because my feet do all the support and transport in terms of the interface, right? And that differentiation is what gave us the capacity to do everything because we have hands. Dolphins and orcas and whales and stuff, they might be smarter than us, but they can't take out a splinter. They can't type. They can't materialize or actualize that which their brain has the capacity to do. So you don't develop it, right? So when you have that vertical, you're still on the same mainframe. And you have that very special efficiency of we're the most efficient animal on the planet other than like the condor, albatross, and whatever, right? A human being on a bicycle covers more ground with less calories than anything. And if you're going to chase it down, as long as you got friends, and if you lose sight, you know how to read the dirt where it went, you're going to get it. You're going to eat tonight. Well, maybe eat tomorrow night, maybe eat 3 days, but you got to keep going. And that's an efficiency thing. And the spine, the proximal is essential. You'll still live if your name is Bob because you cut off the arms and the legs. You're still living, but you can't harm the proximal. And there's an in to out relationship, which means there's an out to in relationship. Somebody asked me a question. You do all this spinal movement. What about the person who just got their spine fused, right? They're just off the operating table. What's your rehab then? Can't do your stuff. Oh, really? Well, yes, we can. You know how we do it? We have you cloud the hands. You just figure eight because I just coiled.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Boom. I just did the opposite. All the muscles in the soft tissue are doing what they do when the back is normal, when the spine's normal. So that distal stimulus is giving me the proximal muscle memory that I can make the transition from side to side. That's what you did. You did the deadlift walk, right? You take the thing that you're expert in and you make a connection that lets you do the essential aspect of the locomotion by simply just doing this with your hands. Just that, right? And like if you look at CrossFit, for example, if I want to compete at exercise, I run the risk of sagittitis. Because if we're doing a discus, okay, well, how many discuses do we need, right? Like how many reps can you squeeze in, right? So it's a physical feat, but it's not, it isn't the same. So the spinal engine is the reality, and you have all the corroborating evidence on video. When we look at Usain Bolt, or when we look at Bo Jackson, or we look at the people who do it naturally, they're doing it naturally. And it's more natural to move perfect than it is to move imperfect. If it were more natural to move imperfect, we wouldn't be here. And what happens is when convenience through technology increases to the point where all you need is the phone and, DoorDash and Uber, your incentive to move, you don't need to. Stephen Hawking, you could be a productive member of society and you can't even eat a cracker. You need help for everything. So it is the reality. And I think people don't like to change, even when the change is positive, and especially when the change uproots everything that you've been teaching for 20 years, right? So if I'm the expert in the high jump, and I teach you the scissor kick, I teach you the Western roll, I'm the best. Well, now Fosbury comes along, and suddenly he's doing something that's biomechanically better because the center of mass doesn't have to go over the bar like it does in the other ones. So you successfully clear the bar, but your center of mass never went over it. Fosbury sets the Olympic record, wins the gold, and it completely ridiculed, rejected. The next Olympics 4 years later, the gold medal was a lower jump doing the old technique. Because you have, it's looking at it too short. Because if you have an audience out there and you're a super stiff guy, like, stiffness, spine, don't move it. You already have an audience. Just come clean. Just come clean and say, oh my gosh, wow. And then we can take all the knowledge that you have, which is a lot, for spine health and the structure of it and stuff. And you do want to be able to brace it so it's not going to move. But for it to matter and carry over productively, it has to connect to X on the map, which is perfect balance through locomotion. And unless you're doing that, you're suffering something that you don't need to experience. You're creating a problem through ignorance, and the mirror neurons and just how you learned was osmosis. You didn't sit down in a chair and look at a PowerPoint and learn how to walk. It's positive and negative reinforcement, mirror neurons. I'm going to do what I see. Some girl in England was, she was the child of two drunks who put her in the backyard with the dogs when she was, an infant precognition. Then they find her when she's 12. She like eats with her mouth. She walks on all fours. She's a dog. She's a dog. We're that, you're born in China, you speak Chinese. You're born here, you speak English. Mm-hmm. Right? So we are so plastic and so moldable when we come into this earth. Baby deer falls out, and if it don't stand up in a minute, well, we got to go. The lions are coming, right? Human being, you got to take care of that thing for a long time until it becomes autonomous, right? And here's another thing. You can make an argument that there's been more locomotion performed carrying a stick than not carrying a stick if you look historically, because the stick was once the essential, necessary tool weapon that allowed you to eat and survive. So you have to carry the burden of the stick. You have to carry it. Mm. And so when you carry a stick and you got to go fast, you don't swing a stick. You pulse a stick. You find the center balance point, and then you carry it efficiently. And then you take that extra mass that's a burden and you put it to work for connective tissue recoil. And now some people run faster with a football than without a football. Some lacrosse people run faster with the lacrosse stick because human being is not a human being without tools. Our capacity to wield the instrument and, play the flute and do anything we want to do is contingent upon differentiating, going from horizontal to vertical, and it's on the mainframe of the spinal engine. And I don't know I think the people who are, if you're disagreeing with it, just check yourself that it's not some, reflexive reaction that is, limbic crisis that you're not right. Learn how to learn from people you don't like. Right? I don't care who cures cancer. I'm taking the pill. I don't care. Right? So as a foundational element, nothing trains the essential fundamental qualities of locomotion, swinging, throwing, those three things, than a simple piece of rope. And when you don't jump through it, you can make it just as intense as jumping through it, as you probably already found out, right? You could get going with that rope. Mm-hmm. You make yourself just as tired.
Yeah.
Right? And you're getting what it translates to as the priority. So syncopated beat of hands down, feet up, that's not as important as integrated on the beat. I need the beat, right? And the beat, what's that song?
The beat goes on.
And the beat goes on, and the beat was strong. So does that answer the question on spinal engine?
Yep.
Okay.
It did. You're trying to get healthier and you're probably eating chicken for every meal or the same beef cuts for every meal. And trust me, I know how good some cuts can be. You can make anything taste good. But Good Life Protein is the place that you want to go if you want to start adding some different types of meats into your rotation. They got picanha, they got chorizo sausage, which is still great on the macros because they're using Piedmontese beef. They have lobster. They have all different types of fish. They have actually a bunch of different types of chicken too. They have lamb. I'm telling you, if you give it Good Life a shot and try some of their different meats, which are still great on the macros, you'll start to appreciate the things that you can get from different meat. Don't think too hard about that one. But check out Good Life because we're sure that you're going to love the taste and the quality. And it's good for your health. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at goodlifeproteins.com. And at checkout, enter promo code POWER to save 20% off your entire order. Or if you want to save even more, use promo code POWERPROJECT to save an additional 5% off your build-a-box. Again, goodlifeproteins.com. Link is in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
When it comes to rope flow, I think it's a practice.
Yes.
You're gonna
Weck method is a practice.
You're going to work on it. You're going to practice it.
Yes.
And you're going to get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
One of the things that you'll see when you walk around and you just observe, you start to learn about locomotion, start to learn about movement. You see other people walking, and I've kind of observed that it looks like some people are walking in 2 or 3 different directions at the same time because their foot's pointed one way, their shin's pointed another, and their knees pointed another. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that just They're unaware. They just haven't learned
Right.
any of these things, and their body. We can kind of say, hey, look, if you're walking around and you don't have any pain, then maybe there's no problem. And if you run a 4.40, maybe we don't need to talk about your knee caving in when you're walking or whatever it might be. But for the most part, a lot of people are in a lot of pain. A lot of people's bodies are compressed and they're messed up and they're screwed up.
I would say above the age of 40, I would say that it's more rather than less.
It's huge, right?
It's more than 50% have pain when they're over 40.
And so, you know, having a practice of trying to walk better most likely isn't going to happen because of the amount of knowledge that it takes to kind of get there and so on.
Right.
But people do need to figure out a practice. They do need to figure out a way to move better. And I think the rope flow allows them that chance, allows them that opportunity to practice something.
Yes.
And then their steps will get better.
Yes.
Because if I tell you, if you're unfit, you're 350 pounds, you don't move very well, you're stiff, you're just getting off the couch, and you have this goal of like changing your life. You want to one day run a half marathon or something like that. Probably one of the worst things I can do is have you walk a lot.
Yeah, if you're walking wrong, you're practicing not perfect.
Right. And so probably a combination of a little bit of rope flow and some walking.
Yes.
And then you getting used to integrating some of what you learned with the rope flow with your walk.
And walking with rope flow.
There we go.
You see what I mean?
Getting movement,
I don't need to just stand in one place. And our whole thing is we're encouraging you to walk it back from perfect so that you're aiming at perfect.
We just talked yesterday, too, with Chris Henshaw. And Chris Henshaw is a huge fan of kind of getting into zone 2 or partially out of zone 1 cardio, getting closer to zone 2.
Okay.
This gives you that similar practice as well.
You can go zone 0 and you can go zone 100.
Yeah, you can go as hard as you want.
You can go as soft as you want.
Right.
And literally, like you can break your leg and you still rope flow.
But it probably give a lot of people, especially people that aren't fit, it'd probably give them an opportunity to be in that zone 2 without any harmful impact. They're not really doing anything that difficult.
If I walked into a Starbucks where you have relatively affluent people who go to the gym and whatever, if I ask them who here loves to run, a majority will say they don't like running. A majority.
Yeah.
And then you go regular people, right? Go on a cruise ship. You know, nobody likes running.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's only a few. So if you don't like the activity, you're probably not going to, want to do it. I don't like walking in the sense that when I had rollerblades on my feet, the efficiency was greater. And I hated walking when I lived in New York City because it was slow. And I got to walk all the way there. It's 20 blocks to a mile. On skates, I can grab onto the back of a car and I can get there fast.
Yeah.
Right? And so I love efficiency. I fell asleep standing up when I was 6 years old, and I think my body registered like, wow, I want that level of effortlessness, right? Where the conscious and sort of subconscious nexus point where it's like you're asleep, but you're standing up. It's such a good feeling, right? So I think I've been chasing that all my life and not having the capacity to get paid money to play a game, which was what I wanted to do. Realized that I couldn't early, but I, trained as if I were. And then that fire, inventing the BOSU ball, knowing that was my, American dream. I'm going,
That was you? You invented that thing?
Don't beat me up.
That thing doesn't work.
I know. It makes healthy athletes weaker.
Stupid.
Hammers suck. I hate hammers. Hammers are terrible because every time I wash my windows with the damn hammer, the window doesn't get clean. It breaks. Therefore, hammers suck. That's their argument against the BOSU ball. And it also fed the narrative that I need to keep my spine stiff because I have to generate more force. And anything that doesn't generate more force is making healthy athletes weaker.
I'm standing right now on your sole steps, which kind of put your feet in this kind of almost like domed position. And we were talking a little bit before the show about how long ago you created the BOSU ball. About how long ago that was.
1999.
And you created other products around it.
Yeah.
And you got these, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about those guys.
Yeah, no, I brought them and Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about these
talk about
soles and
this.
what you're trying to do with the what you're trying to do with the feet.
So what the BOSU Ball did was it bought time. I could have started my own company like you and, made more money to this point, but I'd be telling you to do sit-ups on the damn thing. Like, what am I going to teach you that's special if I don't know? So I licensed it to, I can go out to dinner with friends and I don't care. Like Joe Rogan and someone else said, like, that is Brian Callen and Joe Rogan. They say that my definition of being wealthy is I can go out to dinner and pick up the check and I don't care. Like, I'm having fun and I'm that simple. So for me, that's my definition too. But my habitat is where I will make the investment. I want to build, just the Garden of Eden that I never have to leave, right? You come to me, Mark, you want to come? You want to do a podcast? Well, bring the guys down. You can jump on my plane. And because I do have a 3-stage master plan. Okay. And I think what
all evil villains do.
Actually, I'm an anomaly in the sense that I was the firstborn child of amazing parents whose principal objective was to, care for me. So I had 19 months of being the center of the universe, right? Every want, every need satisfied now, right? Then my brother's born.
Oh, great.
No, but check this out. Check this out. My brother is born and I do nothing but just shower him with affection.
That's great.
Because I'm the king. It's my world, and now you came into it. And this is an amazing world, dude. Okay, now I'm 6 years old. I lose a foot race. Like, what? What? It didn't compute. Like, wait, not in my world. I never lose. Okay, well, he's faster than me. So I get that crisis that I'm not the best. And then you start, you don't always get what you want. You got to either figure out how to do something different to get what you want, or you got to take a different course. So those are the fundamentals. And so what I have, and I'm going to, like, the clinical diagnosis, I've got a lot of experience in it because I've, gone through the roller coaster. But the
3 steps.
You're gonna cut these little mental things.
We got you.
Yeah, because I'm like fucking.
Oof. We got you, buddy. You're all good.
All right.
You're talking about your 3 steps to take over.
Yeah. So all right. So we'll get to the 3-stage master plan. Ubiquitous in fitness and sports training. Ubiquitous meaning in the zero-sum game that is training professional athletes, Weck is in the center of the circle. You're going to do something that's mine. If you do rope flow, you are powered by Weck method. All right? And ubiquitous means that everybody buys it. Who has not bought a jump rope in their life? Who hasn't bought a dumbbell in their life? Right? It's a generic thing, and what I have is proprietary generics. So it's something that just has utility, but I own the trademark, right? I own the patent. So it gives me time to exploit that so that I could do more. And the BOSU Ball gave me every minute of every day my own. And so I just put those minutes to work doing what I already love to do, which is get better at, like, moving. And it was fight, flight, response, ability.
Was this video right here made after you made the BOSU Ball?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, this was probably 2005 or 6, probably.
Let's let her rip.
Yeah, so you see, it's basically if you don't jump through the rope, it attenuates. There are only 4 fundamental patterns. Everything else is built upon those. And there's the idea. And that's another invention that rope.
It's like a beaded.
What it was is I took, like when you're going to snake the drain down the toilet.
Yeah.
I cut off the springs, and I taped and made a handle out of that spring. So I had a fluid that was a stiff. It had the structure of a stick, but it bent when it had enough force on it. So it was like easier to learn to drag and roll. Easier to learn to stick, the sneak.
Yeah. No, the interesting thing is, like, because there's a lot of martial artists that I've gotten doing it too right now.
Yeah,
And
I see him.
I noticed the carryover. That's why I've stuck with it, because there's a lot of like the rotational movement that I've been able to just make smoother from that has just made grappling smoother. But martial artists notice it too.
Yes.
So what type of response have you gotten over the years from martial artists who've truly took it and worked with it?
I was training KJ Noons and Joe Duarte back in 2005. We'd go to the arena in San Diego, 6 a.m, and we always did ropes to, warm up.
Yeah.
And Joe Duarte fell in love with ropes. He was teaching martial arts classes. Everybody warmed up with rope flow. He called me up. He's like, David, I just did a left-handed switch, and I never done a left-handed switch. It's just my body knew it. So he became a huge advocate for it. And then, peppered in with a few other guys. Diego Sanchez was another guy I was working with. Nothing but positive response from the martial art community.
Yeah.
And Martial's tough because nothing draws out the haters like Martial.
Yep.
Nothing. I mean, you could be Bruce Lee and you could be teaching
but
something.
he wasn't a real fighter.
Yeah.
They want shit that works, that comes from another fighter, right? They want stuff that's like, I guess, proven, you'd say.
Yeah. But I think, Nsima, tell your story about your very first impression of rope flow and your pull toward it or not pull toward it. What did you think when I came up here?
When I first saw it, it looked kind of wacky,
And,
but the thing
what's it do for me?
Yeah.
Does it make my muscles bigger?
But this is the thing. First off, putting it into practice, when you're actually someone who puts things into practice and you give things a shot, you notice, okay, like even though I had this idea that it wouldn't be that helpful, my body can't ignore the rotational benefits and the feeling of
the integration.
The integration. But outside of that, because I've talked about this before, I think generally when it comes to martial arts, but also the way we look at things, I see American coaches and the way I think we kind of look at things here in America, even when it comes to martial arts, is like, you look at boxing, jiu-jitsu, these are martial arts that they're hard on the body and they're hard in response. Like boxing, you can't deny how effective throwing a good punch to somebody's chin will be.
Yes, it's the best way.
But then when you look at some of these Eastern ideas of internal martial arts like Tai Chi or like these other things, when people look at it in the West, it's pure McDojo. Like, why am I going to do that? Why am I going to, what's the benefit of this if it doesn't help me knock somebody out with power? Right. It's not a martial art. But then you realize the intent of this isn't necessarily just to knock people out. It feeds your understanding of movement. Just like rope flow.
Which helps you knock someone out.
Which helps you knock somebody out. But it's just like lifting. Where am I going to see? Am I going to see that I look better? Am I bigger?
Yes.
If I'm bigger and I look better, that's the benefit.
Yes.
But with something like this, you don't necessarily see it until you see somebody move well with it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Basically, what you're doing is you're using the wire to train yourself to be wireless. You see what I mean? So, and literally, okay, do you understand what I'm doing? I can feel it, but I don't understand it yet. Okay, pay attention, very close attention. I'm going to do a couple reps.
It's like creatine.
Okay, now,
you don't feel creatine,
right?
But you know it's fucking working.
Last night, okay, my daughter texts me at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like I'm fighting off a cold. I feel horrible. I'm so tired. She's like, oh, so you're not coming over? I'm like, no, I'm coming over. So I go to the grocery store. I get nice steaks and, I'm going to cook everybody dinner and stuff. And I end up getting home at 11:30 at night, because I had a bunch of stuff to do and stuff like that. I don't go to sleep last night till 1 a.m. Okay. And I woke up at 4:45 to get here.
Nasty.
And that's on top of 3 days of essentially very bad sleep. Every night getting worse on the boat. I don't do well on a boat.
Yeah.
Why did you go on a cruise?
My son's birthday, and I got to bring and they my
if it's for your kids, you got to do it.
My son and his two friends, we went down to Ensenada, Mexico. I mean, come on, it was amazing. It was amazing.
I can't ever picture myself going on a cruise.
No,
why not?
It's like the
I
worst
just
thing
want
ever.
to shoot myself.
No, listen, if you're gonna go on a cruise,
it's like Walmart on the water.
Yes, correct.
One person fatter than the next.
Yes.
Everyone just lounging and getting drunk and getting fatter. I just couldn't handle it.
That is what a cruise is.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
not for me.
It is so boring.
I'd be like, I want to run. No one will let me run.
You can run around the ship?
Yeah.
They have a little gym in there.
Yeah.
They do. For
Yeah,
sure.
if you run
they
like,
got everything.
if you run like 6,000 laps, you'll get to a mile, right? But let me go back to 3-phase master plan. So
Yeah.
ubiquitous in fitness. Okay. Next one, footwear and apparel. Next one, surfaces. Surfaces. If we interact with it in 3D space, what if ... we can make it better? And I'm talking any and all things. How can we make the ergonomics of the design make you better off when you're not interacting with the thing? My footwear will provide not so much structural support, but the neural capacity, sequencing, engrams, connections to do it better when I'm not using the tool. So it's a neurological stimulus. It's not an arch support from Dr. Scholl's that's like pressing you, that's assisting you, but making you worse without it. What I'm doing is I'm making you better with it and better without it.
Is this like the soul steps, right? Can you
Yes.
explain? Because I think some people, and if Ryan, you could pull up the soul steps. People like look at these things and they're like, what is this doing? Because
Right.
it's not, it's this thing that's at an angle. So what
basically,
what is that doing?
Yeah. So
We
basically,
stand on these all the time, by the way, guys. We have pairs of these back here. We're always standing on these during the podcast.
So with the soul step, basically what it is, like Mark said earlier, there's a spot on the BOSU dome that is this same pitch relationship. So if you're on the top of the dome and you move your feet back just a little bit, you have this patented relationship that helped me find this, where the inside ball of the foot is the highest.
Okay.
The outside heel is the lowest. So the water's going to flow that way. And what that does is it allows you to take your center of mass, and it allows you, in relationship to your foot, you can move your center of mass forward micromillimeters to have even better balance and potentiate movement because you have weight in the ball of the foot.
It gives you a little bit of a soft heel.
It gives you the float, right? You don't need the heel. If I don't need the heel, then I can use the heel. If I need it, it's already busy, right? So now what makes it really special is that the inside heel is higher than the outside ball of the foot. So the water flows that way. So we have an X going like that, and then an X, the other part of the X going there, like that. And so it takes me to the initiation point of the outside ball of the foot, and it prevents premature collapse. So the key to not hurting yourself from an internal thing, a valgus issue, the key to that is the sequencing of when you're going to go to the inside. If the knee is past the toes, you're safe because your heel will spin out. If my knee is behind my toes, that's when bad things happen. And so what the soul step does is it puts you into a position where if you didn't have the soul step, your body would be moving. So we get to hover in that space that you can only pass through in regular life. So you become very, very familiar with that tiny little adjustment of center of mass in relationship to base of support. And it's special. And again, Chris Chamberlain is like the ultimate litmus test because his physical prowess is off the chart. And his honesty is cruel. You know what I'm saying? Like he will not try to make you feel happy if you ask him a question. And when Chris Chamberlain says, I injured my hip playing football, 18 years ago, and it's always been a little bothered. And his son, Cyric, when he was a little baby, he's, just giving him figure eights at 2 a.m. on soul steps. His hip got fixed. Oh, why? Because the figure eight represents the infinite. You're never stopping. If I go forward and back and I have to stop and go, it's slow and it takes time and tired, right? So if I don't have to stop and I can loop, I never stopped. The object in motion tends to stay in motion, right? So Chris stands on these. His hip from a lifelong injury that's not going to go away, goes away. I'm talking it's gone. Like no more restriction whatsoever. And my brother also, perfect litmus test, because my brother's idea of fitness is I'm going to sign up for the half marathon and that's going to force me to do it. And then I'm going to run. And now I pulled my calf and okay, I'm still going to do it, And so that's his idea of exercise. Has a home gym and everything. I don't think he's ever in there. But I brought it over to him when I first created it and he stood on it and he goes, David, I like these. They're simple and I feel better. Okay. So my brother Peter, he's younger than me, but he's more mature than me. And he rung the bell in the internet. He had a profitable internet in .com that sold like it's, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't have to check in at 9 a.m. You know what I mean? Free to do what you want. And he's sort of, he's on my board of directors. And it's so funny because I'm always on to the next thing. And the power vest, I'm like, Peter, the power vest. And then I can do one with this and it's going to have the little channels and it's going to be a form-fitting, like, compression shirt. And it's going to have this. And he's like, David. Here's what you should do. You should invest all of your time and energy and effort into what you have right now. Okay. And you make it the best vest that it can possibly be. And then go do your other stuff. Right. And I know that, but I just get, passionate, enthusiastic, and, very excited.
Yeah.
So when he says, I like it because I don't have to do anything and it makes me feel better. Well, what's a better promise to a customer than you don't got to do anything and you're going to feel better? Cut the carrots and the onions and the tomatoes standing on these things. And when you're standing on them, don't just stand on them, step off it. Go get the bowl and the paper towel and then come back. Stand on it.
Yeah.
Right? The best position is the capacity to go to the next position. Because one position is bad if that's all it is. So it's just habituating how you are interacting with gravity and the ground. You don't want to go against gravity. You want to go with gravity. You invest in down, coming to perfect structural support, harnessing as much connective tissue recoil as possible to make up for free.
If you're someone that's taking supplements or vitamins or anything to help move the needle in terms of your health, how do you know you really need them? And the reason why I'm asking you, how do you know, is because many people don't know their levels of their testosterone, their vitamin D, all these other labs like their thyroid, and they're taking these supplements to help them function at peak performance. But that's why we've partnered with Merrick Health for such a long time now, because you can get yourself different lab panels like the Power Project panel, which is a comprehensive set of labs to help you figure out what your different levels are. And when you do figure out what your levels are, you'll be able to work with a patient care coordinator that will give you suggestions as far as nutrition optimization, supplementation, or if you're someone who's a candidate and it's necessary, hormonal optimization to help move you in the right direction so you're not playing guesswork with your body. Also, if you've already gotten your lab work done, but you just want to get a checkup, we also have a checkup panel that's made so that you can check up and make sure that everything is moving in the right direction if you've already gotten comprehensive lab work done. This is something super important that I've done for myself. I've had my mom work with Merrick. We've all worked with Merrick just to make sure that we're all moving in the right direction and we're not playing guesswork with our body. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at merrickhealth.com/powerproject. And at checkout, enter promo code POWERPROJECT to save 10% off any one of these panels or any lab on the entire website. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
And this is a mimicker a little bit of what you were demonstrating earlier about running. You were saying you want to kind of hit that outside edge, and it's important to get to the big toe. Some of the stuff that I like that you talk about, when you've been helping me with some of my running, when I send you videos and stuff, is that you're always just kind of like, you're always focused on sort of where I'm at, rather than just saying like, it has to be done this way. And then usually what you'll tell me to do, which I found to be really helpful, you say, hey, why don't you just play around with this?
Yeah.
And those words are important. because that's
yes.
not like, hey, go do 8 100s this way.
Right.
That's a way different conversation.
Yes.
You say, hey, why don't you, maybe next time you do a jog run or whatever, why don't you just incorporate this and play around with it?
Yes.
And that's been really helpful.
Yeah, well, speaking to your audience, right? The appropriate message for the appropriate person, right? Your investment into, self-improvement to achieve some goal that you want to do is, 0.01%. Okay. And I knew about you and I loved you way before when I watched, Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Right? I mean, Mark Bell, oh my God. And Louis Simmons, right? All those guys. And I like strong. Stronger is better than weaker, right? And that's your whole thing, right? Weakness is not a strength. But what I would say is that strong is a weakness.
Well, yeah, concentrate. Well, I wouldn't even say it's wrong. I would just say it's when you concentrate on any one thing, you're going to lose capacity in a lot of other ones. Yeah.
What I'm saying is if you're not walking with perfect balance and you're building strength on that, you're building strength on dysfunction. You are. All right, well, how are we going to get you functional? Well, Weck method starts on the wall. We're going to differentiate. We're going to give you right now ready, poised to pounce. I'm not getting tired on one leg, potentiated to spring into action as soon as I need to.
An interesting thing to think about here is, because I understand what Mark is saying. Like when one focuses on a specific thing, especially within lifting, there's it does certain things to the way you move. But it makes me think about this because I know we've seen, like, if we want to be the greatest, there are examples of what the greatest look like. There are examples of what the greatest move like. But I also think that if you're someone who's lifting, there should be no reason that improving your movement ability should take away from your ability to lift well. You're just not leaving your movement ability in the trash anymore. Because when you focus in on purely powerlifting or bodybuilding or weightlifting, and you're not doing anything nutritious for your movement ability outside of that, it's going to develop this type of this way you move through space. And you should, if you can improve that, that can probably benefit your ability as a lifter.
I agree a ton. I think you're going to see more athletes get through their career and be flourishing when they're done.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what Tom Brady's capacity is. I don't know if he walks with a limp or anything, but he looks like he's.
No, I think he's fine.
He looks like he's doing, and he's played. He played a really long time, won more Super Bowls than anybody. So you're going to see, and he's someone that is known for taking care of himself.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. And the rule changes have certainly helped that because Joe Montana took a beating. That was a little bit more.
I still think he's doing okay though, even though his elbow and his back got all destroyed.
The reason I know a guy who knows him, okay, and the reason why he stopped playing football was because Monday.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Mondays were sucking worse and worse and worse. He's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Oh.
Jim Burt hit him in the NFC Championship game, and he knocked him out. A helmet came right under his chin and dropped him like a bad habit. And
he got hit hard a couple times.
Oh my God.
Really,
NFL
crazy.
in the 80s was just a hit show. I mean, you had people hitting other human beings that make guys like me go, yeah. I don't want the guy to get injured, but I do want to see him get hurt.
I think it was Leonard Marshall, just absolutely.
Oh my God.
That hit was crazy when I think LT kind of got to Montana first, and then he went to sidestep him.
Yeah.
And he thought like, oh, this is going to be the perfect pass. And then the other guy just blew him up.
Just boom. Yeah, well, Jim Burt just hit him. And
I remember that.
Fire hydrant just boom. But the point is that I think every athlete on the planet will avail themselves of the things that give them an athletic advantage. I think that athletic advantages are athletic necessities. Because if the other guy or girl has it and I don't, well, now they're playing with an advantage that I'm not playing with, so there I got to do it. And hence everybody does the Fosbury flop and high jump. There is no Western roll. There is no scissor kick. They're done. They're the dodo bird. They ain't coming back either. Right? So I'm anticipating.
We got the flop going here.
That's Dick Fosbury. That's 1968 in the Olympics, and we'd never seen that before.
Oh, what would it look like before then?
It was scissor kick.
Scissor kick.
Do scissor kick and do Western roll. Western roll and scissor kick.
Yeah, they would like go over forward, right?
Yeah, they go over sideways.
Yeah.
And so you don't get the posterior chain to power it up as much. And your center of mass has to go over the bar.
You know, but this is the thing, man. It's like if you're an athlete, it's in your best interest to not only pay attention to the methods of your sport. Like, look at someone like a LeBron James. You know what I mean? LeBron, obviously he plays basketball, but he's doing so many other things. The dude he has a rebounder. He has all these different things, and he's still scoring 30 plus in his sport. But that's the thing. It's like, if you only pay attention to what everybody else in your sport is doing, maybe the cap of how good you're going to get is just how good everybody else is. But if you can try to find these little things in other areas that can be good for you just good for your movement, good for the way that you perform and the way you recover, that can help you reach another level.
What I also think is that I'm interested in doing things that have that, it irradiates positive onto the other things, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And so if you understand fight and flight, that's the basics. It always comes down to that, fight and flight. Is this a scissor kick or a Western?
They're trying to
you trying to find it?
Throw him over.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
So everything on him, every molecule of his mass has to go higher than the Fosbury.
I do like the fact that he landed on his own feet. That should be part of the...
Now, without the crash mat, if you're jumping into sawdust or sand, you can't do the flop.
Right.
You break your neck. Look at that. So the technology of the landing is what allowed these guys. You can't jump as high doing that. But that's a more functional jump if I'm out, trying to catch the rabbit. You know what I mean?
Wow.
The way
these guys are doing is crazy. This crazy scissored kick thing.
But the main point biomechanically is his center of mass has to go over the bar. If I don't even have to go over the bar to get a legal jump, well, I'm going to get a higher score.
Right.
I think this is a good place, real quick, David. If you can just explain something, because you've mentioned elastic recoil or connective tissue recoil multiple times.
Yes,
and I know there's a lot of people that when you say that, they're like, why is he saying connective tissue recoil? What does that mean?
Okay.
So can you just explain that? Because we saw a bunch of jumping. Right?
Yeah. So if you go to the doctor and he sits you down on the table and he takes that little rubber triangle hammer and he taps your patella tendon, that is a connective tissue recoil. So you had to use no muscular effort to have that thing go.
Yeah.
Right? You had an external factor working on you that elicited a connective tissue recoil that bing, shot it powerfully without effort. Bing. And so when you look at somebody jogging where there's no urgency, even if you're not that athletic, you're going to bounce the hands. Watch it. When you're driving your car next time, everybody out there listening, watch the person jogging and you will see them doing a double down pulse with their arms because this is bouncy. This doesn't bounce.
Yeah.
And so nobody does that unless you went to a running class. You know what I mean? Natural movement is perfect. It's not natural to move without balance.
And then why are things like the propulsors or some of the other things you're mentioning, how is that improving one's connective tissue recoil or ability to access that in terms of the way they move?
It's the same exact way that you get calluses on your feet, you get bigger muscles from lifting. It's just, putting the tissues through that form of stress. So you're getting the neurological timing. Your body responds to audible, that sets, like you can unify everything if you have audible, right? If you audible, you can hit. So training with a metronome, very useful to do, right? So that, boom, boom. So now your interaction with the ground is you're using the muscles more like a fluid inside that lets force just flow through it.
Yeah.
Because it's a fluid, it's a liquid. So it's whoom, right? And when I have that, I don't have to elongate and contract muscle fibers as much. It's more just a pzoom, pzoom, so you don't get sore the way that you do. Like when I was little and I was really trying hard, I would like feel my quads would be like so sore the next day.
Yeah.
Because I was doing a lot of effort, not on perfect probably. Well, certainly not.
I want to mention just something interesting because I know that when it comes to jump rope, you're not the biggest fan of.
No. I'm a big fan of jump rope.
Maybe not for developing power. Let me just put it that way, right? But,
No.
But as I developed that, as I was working on that, the first time I started jump roping, or like really working on it, was maybe late 2019, but I really started doing it in 2020 when COVID happened.
Yes.
I had no other choice. So I noticed that as I was jumping, my calves were getting super sore and it was like work to hop. Over the years though, my hop became more springy.
Yes.
Where now when I jump, it's like I'm able to pop off the ground without having it get me. It doesn't get me sore anywhere.
There's less eccentric action and over a course of time that you're going too fast to get sore. If the force is just Bo Jackson versus Brian Bosworth, okay? Bo Jackson was born with the muscles. They're already fluid. He didn't have to do any contraction effort to have those muscles.
Yeah.
Brian Bosworth had to live in the gym to have the muscles.
Mm-hmm.
So who has more fluid muscles most likely? The guy who's born with it. Because there's no restriction. It doesn't exist in him.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the greatest display of athleticism that we're aware of. In the history that we know.
Yeah.
I think, you got like, Thorpe. Jim Thorpe was the best ever, even better at everything than everybody else.
Jim Brown.
Football,
lacrosse, track.
Right, just a better man among men.
You're right.
Right? So that's investing in the down properly produces up for free.
Mm-hmm.
And then you harness the free and you add effort on top of the free. And then you have the best performance possible.
What about backwards?
What do you mean?
When you're running, you're trying to run faster, a lot of energy goes backwards too. Like your arms go backwards, as you're at the start and so on.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is that it's more useful to they do go forward and back, but it's more useful to think that they both go up and down.
Yeah.
Right. Up and down, because the ipsilateral side, everybody talks about the Serape effect and all this, the right side and the left side. Yeah. But there's also a left side and the left side. And that's the side hitting the ground. Mm-hmm. Why would I not avail myself of the opportunity to put an explanation point into land load launch as opposed to a comma, right? Or a period, right? I want to have that investment and knowledge that I can send force. I can funnel that stuff so fluid that the stimulus is gone before you could react to it. Mm-hmm. And I think that fascia, it's such a mysterious, amazing tissue that was ignored, just discarded so we could see what it is for so long. But I think it has its own mechanical intelligence where, like if I burn my finger, the signal just goes to my spine and it goes to my finger and says, pull it away.
Yeah.
Okay. So that type of reaction is nocioception. Right? Tony Robbins, you talk about you're going to avoid pain more than you're going to pursue pleasure. Right? So he's talking about, okay, change your mindset to, concern over failure to let's focus on winning.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that, and the way that you move it's the vessel for your mind and your soul. Your physical, you're inhabiting. Where do you live? Well, you live right here, right now. That's where you live. Whatever your address is, well, yeah, you sleep there, you eat there, but you live here. And so if you have incoherency in the body because you're not moving most naturally, which is perfect, well, now there's a monkey on your back now. It's you're carrying an extra backpack, but there's nothing in it but rocks. Mm-hmm. So you're not free to release yourself from tension. It's a lot easier to give a speech to 5,000 people if I have a dais where I'm standing behind this thing and I can sort of root into it and I can be more confident if I don't have perfect balance than just standing up there with nothing. If I'm standing up there with nothing, it's harder to do. And when you can truly have that perfect balance, it's true. You can do it and you're not getting tired. And you don't have to spend any energy in that process because it's all skill. And I say develop effortless power and then add the effort. If I jump to just effort, well, if it's not perfect, I'm not only creating a neurological glitch, my tissues are not remodeling themselves to a force that is clean.
Yeah.
I'm literally, tissues are being remodeled that are ultimately going to be compensating for the imbalance with an uprooting restrictive tension that you could just do without if you had perfect balance.
How have you made so many of these inventions? How have you made them come to be? I mean, it seems like
duct tape. Duct tape.
Well, it does seem like a handful of them came and went, and then there's some that have been kind of a mainstay. Yeah. Do you journal, and then what happens when you have an idea? Like, how do you make the idea actually happen for you? Is the process a big part of it? Just making something physical at your home and then kind of going from there?
Well, it literally is duct tape. Like you can create 3-dimensional structures. You can tie stuff together. Duct tape is like, you could make a car out of duct tape. You can make a tuxedo out of duct tape. So duct tape.
It would look great and be comfortable.
Yeah, it would be novel, that's for sure, right? You're going to be the only guy who has that one.
That's true.
You're either going to look good or really bad. Yeah, so I would say
you make something physical.
Yeah, I make a viable embodiment through prototyping so I could put it to the test. And I don't want to wait for some CAD design and build a mold and do all that stuff. I want to see, okay, is this thing worth pouring more energy and effort into, or is it not? And the only way I can do that is test it. So you got to actualize it in some prototype form that is viable. So with the BOSU ball, it's cut a stability ball in half and, staple it and glue it and duct tape it onto a wooden disc. All right, I got a viable prototype. Oh, I have proof of concept. Okay, great. Now I'm going to build molds, and now I'm going to spend money. And then I get the product.
Is some of this written down too? Do you have a journal where you have a lot of this? I know you film a lot of it and you take pictures and stuff.
I think what I do, my process is one where the chaos of creation for me is advantageous for some reason. Like my apartment just had the cleaning crew in yesterday, spotless. Next week, it'll be a mess, and it won't be clean until someone else does it. When I go to my ex-wife's house with my kids, which is pretty much every day, I clean the kitchen. I make sure the counter, look this way to make sure the counter is clean and stuff because it's not for me. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Isn't that funny?
Well, I woke up, I was laying in bed. Chris probably seen it. How many empty popsicle wrappers and, how many... I'm talking about get a Glad or a Hefty bag and you're going to make it pretty full. I'm a complete slob.
The thing I love about this is, okay, people are going to hear this and be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But one thing is it seems that you are childish in the best way, in the way that it allows you to be creative.
Yes.
And allows you to be kind of free.
Yes.
Because the way you're talking about this, it's I don't mean to sound disrespectful. It's kind of like a kid, but that's actually really good.
Yeah, being messy can be good.
Because
for me, I'm not comfortable in an environment where there's a bowl of green apples and nothing else. What the fuck? I'm not comfortable in that space.
Yeah.
If it's horizontal, it's being occupied with something. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just not me.
But I think about this and I'm just you see how many of these amazing things that you've been able to come with that are truly helping people move forward that, you don't see other people doing or thinking about.
Well,
and it's going back to the idea of rope flow, that whole practice is fucking crazy. It's kind of wild that you came up with that whole thing, dude.
Again, athletic inadequacy. How can I figure out? Because, later this afternoon or tomorrow, we're going to roll around a little bit because my hip is good enough to do it. And I'm going to start downloading you, my man.
Okay.
So you're going to tap me. You're going to tap me.
Start downloading you guys.
You're going to tap me. And then I'm going to be downloading you and I'm going to get better. And it's going to be harder for you to tap me.
Absolutely.
And you had that experience when you came down and we did the push hands and you figured out that it's about moving my baby. The bone. You think about
so wild.
You experienced it. He sent me a text message He's like, David, this is unbelievable. I am tapping people in so many different ways, and it's so much easier.
It's because the idea of finding that aspect in their skeletal structure, finding where they're easiest to move.
If you have
leverage,
if you have 103-degree fever, your bones are just as strong as yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything else is not, but your bones are.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is have the capacity to literally be a bag of bones and just use the skeleton and gravity, and not even try not to use a single muscle.
Can you try and explain this concept? Because even me, I've been talking about this, and I'm trying to explain to people what I'm feeling and what you're talking about here. Moving about the skeleton, moving somebody with just pure skeletal leverage. And what you just said there, where it's not about using your muscle, you're totally right. It's not about like tightening up and trying to push. It's trying to find that center.
It's a give and a take.
Yeah.
You're gonna give it to me, I'm gonna take it, and then I'm gonna take you in. Like, if you're gonna come at me here, I'm gonna yield and surround.
Yeah.
Right. So, come into the trap.
Is there maybe some footage on your YouTube or
of
push hands?
I think we'll have to play some and get some.
Yeah, we can get some.
Push hands is something that
I know I recorded it a long time ago.
Well,
on
what's
my
funny
Instagram,
is the push hands is something that I've never ever videoed, and I video everything.
Yeah.
But it's just the ultimate childlike enthusiasm for push hands for me. When I was a kid and when I was like high school and college, if we're out somewhere, the last thing I'm carrying is a camera. I don't have time to sit there and take a freaking picture. I'm going to enjoy the moment. And now it's opposite. Now it's all this, right?
Yes, yeah.
But I had a lot of part of my life where I was too busy and too focused on something else to even want to do this. But push hands, you're experiencing it, and a lot of what you can see, you can't even see. Because so much of what's happening is so subtle that from watching a video, you can't see it. So it doesn't matter videoing it. But for locomotion, you have to video it.
Yeah, people were confused when I posted it. Because I did record you and Nsima.
Oh, the first time.
Yeah, the first time.
Playing. Yeah.
When you guys were kind of messing around.
It's a game with rules that allows a smaller guy who's the lesser man to win the game, right? I mean, if we're just fighting, well, the better guy's probably going to win, right? But the push hands makes you extremely comfortable in close. And so I study boxing, I study jujitsu. Those are the things that I work on now. But I study boxing so that I'm never going to box. Like, I'm going to spend as little time as possible here.
Right.
I'm going to either get far enough away or I'm going to get in your underpants, right? Cut.
Nah, keep that in. That shit's staying.
Well, these guys, I wake up one morning, I'm laying in the bathtub, which I do every morning, and I'm watching the phone, which I do every morning. And these guys come on with the Power Project, and they're talking about drinking urine. And I'm just like, no. And then I keep watching, and I'm like, wait a minute here. Like, when you started talking about it, if you take the wasabi and you touch it here, then you can drink more piss. I was just like, I sent both of you guys a text. I was like, wait a minute here. Because Andrew was saying that he would throw up before he even took it. And I think I'd be worse.
We're really good at these like jokes.
Oh,
but
my
people
God.
take it too seriously.
It was the best joke. I sent you a message.
Yeah.
And I sent you a message. And then you just laughed and you said, oh no.
I laughed and I think I sent you like a report about it, like data.
Yeah.
I sent you like a study about it.
Right. So, I mean,
I was
So
like,
many
fuck
people
it.
probably drank pee after that.
Yeah.
I don't think about that. Like, it's you guys, a lot of the advice you give is worth doing, right? So, but
There are a lot of people that do think it's helpful, by the way.
There are.
Like on a serious note.
Listen,
yeah, truly. But not
I
me.
would-
But we don't drink it.
okay. Here's
We're
how,
not there yet.
Here's how it works for me, right? If she don't wear one, I don't wear one. So you guys let me know when you start peeing in your mouth. Then I'll think about it, right? But otherwise, just inconceivable.
Yeah.
Like, even if I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want my piss.
Fair.
Yeah, just don't want it. Unless it makes me like Superman, then fucking fill bottles.
Yeah.
Get wasabi. It's like wine tasting. You can clear your palate for the next sip.
We did have a guest on the show who talked a lot about urine being in like a lot of skincare products. Super
Well,
interesting.
that's one of the things, because you always pee in the shower.
Yeah.
But do you pee in the tub? That's the fundamental question, right? Do you want to soak in your own piss?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't. I actually get up, pee and then get back in because I can relax. And if I have to hold my pee, then I can't relax. So, what'd you get?
There's a video of push hands that I sent over to Ryan.
Oh, perfect.
I think it would help. It'll help like with the explainer that you were about to do.
Yeah. 'cause
Yeah. So push hands is about investing in loss. You want to win subtly by being invisible so that the other person can never connect to your center. And this is a more athletic version of push hands than, the Tai Chi push hands.
Yeah.
And you see how if I can capture his elbow and then I can take his skeleton and always just be jamming it and changing whatever you do, I'm just going to go with you.
Yeah.
Right. And then I got your bones. And then what was great about this was you picked it up so fast.
Yeah.
So hour 1, hour 2, the other guy's moving.
Yeah.
And that, you see, when I met Mark, okay, I knew that this was the critical juncture where Mark Bell would be the conduit to everybody else. Andrew Huberman just bought my RMTS course.
Hey, let's go.
Okay, Andrew Huberman. He's getting it from Kelly Starrett. He's getting it from you. He's getting it from Mark. And real knows real. So as soon as and he talks about how his back hurts.
And
And
this is going to help.
and he says that he's not athletic. I bet he is, but he says he's not. And I just told him, I said, your expectation should be that you are stronger and better at everything. That's your expectation.
I think he's pretty athletic actually because he grew up like skateboarding and stuff.
Yeah.
But
So
I
think he
but
can
I
move pretty
listened
well.
to him.
But he
pretty
might have
frequently.
tightened up and stiffened
but-
up over the years.
Well, his back hurts, and
Yeah,
he said, I said he's probably a great athlete, but he says that he's not.
I did show him the rope, but it took Kelly Starrett. It took a doctor.
Well, no, but Nsima showed him too,
Yeah.
right? So, and again, it's something that if I don't comprehend the value, why would I invest?
Right.
And especially if I just don't understand. Like, what the hell's he doing? You associate.
That's the main thing is understanding. Yeah. Being able to understand it.
Yeah, and real knows real. So Andrew Huberman is a force multiplier. You are a force multiplier, right? You're a force multiplier. Joe Rogan is the ultimate force multiplier, right? Because they're curious people who come at something blank slate without some agenda or preconceived thing that you already hated, right? They're willing to just, what if, right? And Andrew Huberman is a science guy. And so this is an opportunity now with a force multiplier to now talk about science of exercise and start asking questions. Like the narrative in certification for sports conditioning, training, coaching, you can't get a job in high school, college, or the pros in a lot of places without a certain certification. And the certification is based upon the fact that they believe that the spine has to be rigidified and immobilized in neutral as the foundation of moving better. Core stability. The core doesn't generate power. Like, it's the ball and socket joints, and the core just transfers the power. And then, as the golfer's spine passes through neutral at ball contact, says, wait a minute, watch the video.
Why is this kind of Kermit the Froggy?
Because it's my way of twisting the knife.
Yeah,
I'm twisting the knife, okay? I don't think there's ever been a product in the history of our industry that has been hated so intensely by the select, most educated community. And
You about to say then the BOSU Ball?
what's that?
You about to say then the BOSU Ball? Or,
What about the BOSU?
oh, I thought you were mentioning the product hated by the community.
Yeah.
Oh, so are you referring to the BOSU Ball?
Yeah, I'm referring to BOSU Ball.
Okay.
The BOSU Ball. I mean, and guys who I really like and love, like Joe DeFranco, for example. He's like, oh yeah, we all bashed the BOSU ball. It was the thing to do back then. And some people like Joe have, evolved to understand there's value.
Yeah.
And a lot of them haven't. And so, and there's, power in numbers, right? You said that this morning, or somebody did. There's power in numbers. So the science is core up. You see how corrupt? You see? It's core up shin. We want it to go down the shin and then come up. We don't want it to come up the shin until it's gone down. You'll hear a lot of people, it comes from the ground up, comes from the ground up. Yeah, but first it goes down to the ground. Right?
Yeah.
Martial arts, you where the head goes, the body goes.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just fundamental principles. Move without moving so that your opponent can't interpret the change, but I changed. And if you don't interpret the change, I'm going to kick your ass.
Yeah.
It's just that simple, right? So I'm always insisting upon real, right? I train in the Six Blades Ribeiro Jiu-Jitsu family. That's my lineage of it. And I train with the, striped up black belts private. So I never experience a bad rep. I'm working with a guy who, was cooperatively competing with me, and I'm getting to reference perfect, or, I'm at least very good.
Yeah.
Right? And so now you have a chance at doing it. But if you never even get on first base, how are you going to score a run? So that's the rope flow is something that I don't know at what point you recognize the value. I think the more in tune you are with your body, the faster you'll recognize the value of it.
Yeah.
But once I recognize the value, you just want to get 4 patterns to muscle memory, and that's all you need to do. It's a rite of passage. So people want to absolute black and white things. So it's like, oh, why would I learn that? Well, just learn it and then move on to the next thing. And the reason why I'm creating the game-changing next evolution of the tools, the training tools, is because I test it. I'm athletic enough to know what's real. And so it's real. And then you make a discovery, and now you're at a different vantage point where you see another opportunity that's not visible until you've gotten to that point. And I'm going inside. I'm not going outside. I'm going inside deeper. The internal is the internal. If the hub of the wheel, if I'm inside it, infinitesimally infinite, then I move that much and the wheel goes that much. If I'm not concentrated in the center, I go there and the outside goes there, right? So you go deep. Now you got new vantage points. And I've come up here, and tomorrow, later today, whenever we work together, I'm going to be able to share insights with you that are much more profound than anything I've ever shared with you, other than the principle that you have to be balanced. Head over foot is perfectly balanced locomotion. That's what it is. And then it's derivative off of that. But if you're not in a position where you could freeze the frame and have that integrity, then you're not balanced. If I want to go forward and my head is inside of my foot, well, guess what? Some of the force is going that way. All right, well, I want to go there. Okay. So straight lines. Yeah, straight lines are to help us understand the calculus of the infinite. It's a construct, right? And it's efficient. There's nothing more efficient than a box. If I need to send as many, slingshots from here to there, well, it's called a container, right? And any other shape is less efficient for packing stuff in. Oh, pretty important. But it's sort of artificial in the sense that where in nature do you have a box? All right, so you want both, right? Use the constructs to, make the reality better. But it's still a construct. And if I take 3 planes of motion, I start talking about, this exercise is, I can't help it. This exercise is for, this is going to train the transverse plane, and this is going to train the sagittal plane. Well, guess what? All 3 planes are happening all the time.
Yeah.
So you're actually training all 3. So there is no transverse exercise. There's always involved something else.
Makes it very easy to understand. But I mean,
but it leads you. If I am teaching you to not pin the tail on the donkey, but to just keep walking over there, if you're telling me that I got to rigidify my spine in neutral, and that's my athletic foundation, which it is, that's the narrative, science. And the thing about science is it's the trump card. It's the ace in the hole. You tell me something, I say, well, where's the science? Where's the science? Study. And in peer review, you're not even allowed to consider anecdote, right? If you're going to do a peer review research, first thing you have to do is you have to do all the research on all the prior research that is science. And that's all that I'm allowed to look at. And then I have to run my little 19 soccer players, doing this on a Dynadisc, and now they're weaker, and okay, BOSU Balls suck, yay. And therefore the Palloff press is, what we all have to do. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And Andrew Huberman, who is a scientist who's not in the mix, he's out of the fray. He doesn't have a dog in the fight about what's the best way to do a push-up. He doesn't care. He just wants the best way to do a push-up.
An interesting thing about what you're saying here is I think if outside of anyone who is someone who is focused on research, it's probably beneficial just to look at the crazy capacities that the human body has. Like, you have people there's this guy, his name on Instagram is like Bone Ticks Art or something. He has some levels of hypermobility, but he's just able to move his body in all these wild ways. He's quite muscular too. But the thing is you wonder, when you see people doing these wild things, how can somebody study this? And how can we have this idea that some of these things that we're doing are going to allow us to achieve just these wild capacities that these human beings have? They haven't been studied. They're not gonna be studied. And I'm not saying that anyone should try to seek being able to do this. But what I am saying is if you wanted to,
how are you going to tap that?
Right?
You could take his arm and put it over there, and he doesn't care.
Again, I'm not saying that people should seek this ability, but when somebody sees something like this, there's no study that's going to explain any aspect of building this type of ability.
And the studies are administered by staff assistants who don't know what they're doing, with people who are getting paid, $15 to be there. So you're not studying the best.
So it's that's what I'm saying. When we look at these things, maybe it is a good idea. If I were to look at him and be like, how does he do that? I would actually message the person and see, what are some things that you do? Maybe he'll say, I've been able to do this since I was a baby. Right. But maybe there will be some actual things that he applies that I could apply and get some semblance of that skill from his anecdote.
What we are as trainers is we are guitar players who teach others how to play the guitar. Think of orchestrating mathematically precise musical medleys of movement. And that's what we want, right? That's what we want. And then we can express our strength better. Stronger is better.
Yeah.
If you're going to tell me that a barbell is not natural and we shouldn't use it, well, then I'm going to say, well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Because a barbell is incredibly useful. All right. What do you do with it is the question, right? So Chris taught me this. You don't bash tools. The carpenter who can't, the carpenter who blames it on the tools, well, you're not a good carpenter, because you're the carpenter. The tool is the thing that is allowing. That's your brush, and the thing you're making is the canvas. You're painting a beautiful picture, and that's the science. I think people are afraid of being ostracized. They're afraid of being ridiculed. And I think that fear is more than the fear of death. It's more than the fear of just about anything, is not being accepted in the social, class that you aspire to be accepted in, right? So there's a lot of people that are terrified. And one of the best short-term cures for being terrified is to just ignore the thing that's terrifying you, right? It's just, okay, don't think about it. And then you have your story that trumps everybody, because you have to have the science. And I would agree, you have to have the science, but the art is what is out in front of the science.
For years on this podcast, we've been talking about the benefit of barefoot shoes. And these are the shoes I used to use back in like 2017, 2018, my old Metcons. They are flat, but they're not very wide and they're very stiff and they don't move. That's why we've been partnering with and we've been using Vivo barefoot shoes. These are the Modus Strength shoe because not only are they wide, I have wide ass feet and so do we here on the podcast, especially as our feet have gotten stronger, but they're flexible. So when you're doing certain movements, like let's say you're doing jumping or you're doing split squats or you're doing movements where your toes need to flex and move, your feet are able to do that and perform in this shoe, allowing them to get stronger over time. And obviously, they're flexible. So your foot's allowed to be a foot. And when you're doing all types of exercise, your feet will get stronger, improving your ability to move. Andrew, how can they get their hands on these?
Yes, head to vivobarefoot.com/powerproject and enter the code that you see on screen to save 20% off your entire order. Again, that's at vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I sent this video over to Ryan because, and we had this guy on our show. His name's Mike Stella. He's a great trainer. Actually, he's a body worker. He's a PT.
Yeah.
Does a lot of good body work on people. But let's just play the video. And I think this kind of falls in line with what we're mentioning here.
Fan of BOSU balls, and here's why. It's fucking stupid. I see trainers and coaches, and this drives me crazy, which is they'll put an athlete on an unstable surface like a BOSU ball and then add external weight and have them squat on. I cannot think of a bigger freaking waste of time because they just don't go together. Either you're gonna work on a balance exercise or you're gonna work on a strength exercise. If you want to squat better, you wanna be able to push force into the ground and get an equal and opposite force in return and be effective and efficient in moving that weight. If you wanna balance better, typically you're balancing on flat surfaces. So maybe you want to do some perturbation training, which is your athlete jumps and you give them a little push and teach them in a controlled setting how to land in uncontrolled situations. That's going to translate to injury prevention and rehabilitation so much better than these circus acts of putting themselves on a BOSU ball.
Circus act is an insult.
They juggle chainsaws.
GFY.
I want to mention Mike is awesome.
Okay, great.
But
Mike Israetel. I'm going to say something. I watch Mike Israetel, and that guy is psychotic when he's on roids.
a tad.
No, all in. Okay? I would have sublime pleasure from making it medically impossible to fix what I just did to the guy who made a negative comment on Instagram.
This is a quotation from Mike, guys.
Of course it is.
David's saying right
No, of course it is. Now. But I understand it, okay? I understand it. Because what it is, Nsima, it's righteous indignation, okay? What he has right there is righteous indignation. I can't stand it. It drives me crazy when I see someone on a BOSU ball. Oh, really? Well, put it dome side up and then engage it with power. So you're committing more than body weight to it, and you will fortify the lower extremity in ways that are not possible any other way, Mike. Because I see that shit, and it's not him. It's the 100,000 people who are listening to him.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's not the thing. The thing is like I haven't commented on that post. Like it's not the tool; it's the person prescribing what to do on the tool.
Correct.
So when you see someone put it dome side down and they put an athlete on top of it with plates, it's not the best. And that's what's proliferated when it comes to the idea of the tool.
And that is why hammers suck. Okay.
I wonder.
Hammers suck because they break windows when you wash.
When you think about in the gym with weights, what has been scientifically proven to actually transfer directly into sport that we know for sure? I don't think there's anything that we know for sure. We know, like anecdotally,
inputs and outputs.
Yeah, from an anecdotal standpoint, we can all say, I think it's helpful to lift some weights. For most sports, I think it's a good idea.
I think it's essential.
Okay. But like I don't know if there's like scientific.
No, what
proof.
you have is the science of like what's happening to the tissues and why does why does hypertrophy happen? And there's a lot of study on that stuff. That's the physiology. It's not the biomechanics.
We do have a history of a lot of amazing athletic feats being accomplished long before there was a weight room. So that's interesting in and of itself.
Yes. I
don't know
if the survival of your children is contingent upon your capacity to bring home the bacon, and you can't order it. All right? Locomotion, swinging, throwing, catching, and carrying are more important than the food because that's the only way you're going to get the food. So you naturally rise to the challenge to overcome it if you're a winner. Okay? If everybody had the heart and the mind as Mark Bell, there would be no losers. And that's a true statement because you don't come at it with an agenda to preserve your own emotional crisis that it might not be right. What he's doing is he's fortifying his beliefs, taking fucking shit pot shots at my wonderful product that now somebody's going to have a non-contact injury on their lower extremity because their foot is so weak compared to the kid in the 1970s, but his body's 5 times stronger. All right. What happens when you got all that dynamite and the foot ain't smart and the foot ain't strong? Well, it's probably going to be a weak link. Probably.
I'm just saying, why single out the BOSU ball? Because we could single out the curl. We could single out a lot of things
because
that we can't prove works on a football field.
When I first invented the BOSU ball, okay, I'm interested in selling BOSU balls. I knew that I had to validate at the top. So the U.S. ski team, the Yankees, the Lakers, the Devils, and the Rams were the respective championship teams. Those are my first 5 sales because I had to validate it, right? And I came in at the right time. Stability balls were at their peak, and the BOSU ball was a stability ball that is stable.
Yep.
And if it just did platform side up, we wouldn't be talking about it, and he wouldn't be making fun of it, right? There is so much utility from that surface. I said my third, mission is surfaces that apply to all things.
Yep.
I want to sell refrigerator-sized printers, garage-sized printers, where I send you pallets of substrates and you buy 0s and 1s from me to print your toothbrush. And it's a better toothbrush than you can find anywhere else. And I don't got to ship it all over the world like Jeff Bezos. We're going to eliminate so much of the transit because we're going to ship you pallets of plastic and metal and wood. And then your 3D printer's going to build you the thing. Ooh. And someone else will develop that technology, but I'm going to do the best 0s and 1s. Bingo. Jeff, watch out. Phil, Shoe Dog, Nike, watch out.
When's your new vest come out?
Oh, the vest. We will have it before Chinese New Year, which is at the end of January. So we're going to have the vest. We already have the cartridges. I brought a vest. Marty, my business partner, doesn't want me to show it. He's, you remember we had that conversation. He's like, look, stop showing it if we can't sell it. I'm like, but Marty, I got to beat the drum. He's like, don't. And in a sense, I don't care because I know it's inevitable that that's ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Because it's the first sprint-specific plyometric training tool ever. 4 patents. Because there's 0 learning curve and you get off the ground faster with added resistance. I had King Darius Clark, one of the best jumpers in the world. He was down in the lab for like 3 days, okay? I put the vest on him and there was a mark on the floor and the camera didn't change. And I had him do pogo jumps with the vest. Had him do pogo jumps without the vest. We analyze it in slow motion. We count the frames that he's on the ground. He's on the ground the same amount of time, even possibly a little bit less on those pogo jumps with 15 pounds of dead weight that is sprung, so it's alive. There's never been that. If you take a high-level sprinter and you put a weight vest on, like this one here, they will be worse.
Yeah.
They will literally be worse at what they're great at if they put non-contractile mass on the body that has inertia, all right? What I've done with the Propulse cartridges is I have removed the inertia so that all of that inertial force is concentrated into one moment that's going to fit inside of less than 1/10 of a second. Boom. And I have more force that spikes so fast and disappears that all your body does is go bing, bing, bing. You can pogo jump longer with the vest than without the vest.
So quick question, because now somebody's wondering, okay, cool. Well, what's this going to help me do if I'm a jumper or a sprinter, et cetera? That's what. So
okay, it's going to help you jump higher, and it's going to help you sprint faster. Right? You interested in that?
With and without it.
With it, so that without it, you're better.
Right.
Yeah, and Chris Duffin, he was wearing a prototype vest and he was using the pulsers in the hands and he ran up the hill faster with it than without it. That's, if you told me that, I'd be like, wait a minute here. I got to see that. How you carrying weight that is less burden than the return you get from it.
it's the feed, and I also want to mention, because I mean, not even about the, I'm just going to talk about the propulsors, but the feedback, the audible feedback, and then the actual feedback
kinetic,
that you feel.
Kinetic.
It's like, you know, like when I have these on, when you,
yes,
it gives you that ability to pulse.
Nsima, the Maasai, okay, the Maasai who jump, and they jump vertical. They hold the spear vertical, and they jump. Americans and athletes use the arms to pulse. Right? If I need to get up fast, I pulse. If I need to get up high, then I swing. Right? More time gives me more time to jump, and less time gives me faster on the ground.
Yeah.
And this is a tool that spikes the force. A 10-ounce cartridge could spike as much as 9 pounds for a millisecond, a microsecond. So you're taking 10 ounces, going to spike to 9 pounds. Let's just say a pound is 10 pounds for a fraction of a second. And I'm putting 20 of them in you.
So these springs potentially are giving you a little bit of lift off the ground.
Not potentially. It's actual kinetically. It is giving you a...
What about the concern of the potential of like hitting the ground harder?
That's the best part. Slime. You guys are familiar with slime that the kids had. You take Elmer's glue and you put baking soda in or whatever you do.
Okay.
And then it turns into this sort of like quicksand kind of, but it's like silly putty.
Slime,
yeah, like kind of stuff.
Okay.
So if you take the slime, right, and you press into it, you're going to go right through it nice and slow, and you're going to hit down to the table.
Yeah.
But if I have that slime and I hit it, I bounce off. That's your fascia. Fascia has its own intelligence that doesn't have to route to the spine. It is kinetic. It is here. It happens. The force comes in, and before it even has time to send the signal and back, the fascia took care of it. And the fascia is fascinating. In Chinese medicine, right? They have organs, and they have one organ that's called the triple energizer, the triple warmer, or the sanjiao. And it's an imaginary organ. It doesn't exist in the way we have lung, right? Large intestine, stomach, right? We have spleen, we have heart, we have all these organs that are real. Well, what the hell is a sanjiao? What the hell is a triple warmer? Well, it turns out that it is the whole thing. It's the fascia. The triple energizer is the fascia. Because that's what connects, it separates and it surrounds everything. Every little muscle cell has a little piece of fascia that's holding it.
Yeah.
And it's the ring finger, this Sanjiao meridian, comes out the pericardium, and then it comes back in through the fourth finger. The fourth finger is the only one that you can't flip. So if I do that with my finger, right, all the other fingers will go up. The fourth finger won't go up. So when I have the intent to lift the fourth finger up, what happens is it starts to funnel me to center. And if I did it like this, it goes like that. So you feel Nsima, just do like isolate the fourth.
Okay.
Okay. Now lift the fourth as high as you can.
Yeah.
Right. And now go with that and then let it keep going. And it's a spiral in the center of your palm that is funneling the force to proximal.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So now I could take you, right, before you know the trick, and I can now guide all your force to my center. And then I'm just going to dip it and then give it.
I think this brings us into I know this podcast is going for a bit, but this brings us into the topic of the core fist and these different, and you know, after you showed that to me, I've been working the heavy bag a lot because I just want to know how it's going to have an effect on like my body, bones, etc. But before when I'd be punching that bag, I'd be injuring my fist here and there, right? Core fist, what's going on there? Because I punch with a core fist and I could punch hard shit, man.
Yeah. It's much safer for you and much more dangerous for him. Yeah. Yeah. So what was the question?
Just what's going on with that core fist? What's being created within the hands?
So basically what you're doing with the core fist is you are creating a skeletal circuit with triangles. So triangulation. So if I ball up a fist, whether you're really mad or we're really happy, you're going to naturally go here. If they score a touchdown, you go here. And if you're pissed off, you go here. Right? Now, the problem with this position is this is designed to hold something. Okay. Yeah. That's why I want to have grip, is to do something. But if it doesn't have anything, it goes into itself and it's a zero-sum game because that joint doesn't have integrity. You can't create force transmission longitudinally through the skeleton.
Yeah.
And so it cuts it off. Yeah. Now, as soon as I make a triangle, now all of the flexion feeds the extension and it flips the script on distal tension. Because if I do core fist, the internal version, right? Not the core fast, but the core fist here, now I've created a skeletal circuit that will radiate through the body. And the harder that I squeeze the core fist, the more fluid the shoulder goes. And the stability, you don't need to wrap your wrists if you got that core fist.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
It's actually pretty crazy in application. I know people are going to listen to this and be like, what the fuck? But
well,
application.
Anytime you talk about martial arts, the peanut gallery is going to go nuts.
I think it's important when you do talk about something new. I think that people should be skeptical. But
yes!
I would say give it a try.
Well, listen.
Always give it a try.
Listen, or don't and come to the party late.
Yep.
I don't care because I care so much.
Yeah, challenge it against your current beliefs. And if you're like, I don't think it's for me, then maybe you skip it.
To be a benevolent narcissist, okay, that's my diagnosis. I cannot be happy unless I am the best. Okay.
That was the diagnosis that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
I jump around, I haven't slept in 4 days, but anyway, I mean, my brain is like in a fog, but yeah, I mean,
that's a tough diagnosis because like the best and the best at what? For
there you
what?
go. Yes. Well, there you go.
How do we define it? What are we talking about? The best at everything all the time?
Well, yes, but no, because that would be great. Yeah. If I could be the best at everything, I'll take it.
All right.
But I'm not. Okay. So now, and I'm also a guy who, of all the things that exist in the world, I'm not the best. There's always someone better.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to carve out your own lane that you could be the best at. And because I'm such a locomotive geek, like I probably am the biggest locomotion geek in the planet, probably ever in the species. I think about it. I care about it. I study it. I practice it. I love it. Like if you didn't have to make money, I would spend all my day training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and the BOSU Ball gave me the ability to do my passion and then carve out a lane where I'm the best. And I set my sights on it as soon as I invented the BOSU Ball. I was, relate to gait was always my intent and direction and focus. Okay, but now what? Okay, well, you got to figure it out now. And through testing it and having the time to do it and doing the reps, I could verify scientifically, meaning I have a measurable improvement that I can objectively measure. Like I ran from here to there faster. There's my fucking science. You understand? Faster is fucking faster. Yeah. Now figure out the science. Don't tell me the science, and then try to, if it's not pointed at X on the map, perfect balance, well, then it's not perfect. And if you're not training perfect, what's the odds you're going to play perfect? Right? And so it's the burning desire to help other people. If you harmed a family member of mine, you have a dangerous enemy who is hell-bent on revenge. Okay? If you try to hurt my mom, you try to hurt my daughter, oh boy, that's it. You have an enemy who just I would jump in front of the bullet and I would donate the liver if it would preserve the life of my children. And there's a tremendous power in loving someone else more than yourself in terms of just, the ability to carry on and keep living, right? And what I figured out was if I were a great athlete, you would sign non-disclosure agreements and you would not share a single thing that I'm teaching because I'm going to exploit it for my own advantage if I'm great. I'm not great. So my better move is to give it away to the greats, to inspire those who aren't as great, and I get everyone. So I plan to help however many billion people on this planet. I'm going to help every single one of them to make every step stronger.
I love that.
And I am at the point now where we've reached a critical mass. If I got hit by a bus, this thing still goes. You're going to keep doing rope flow.
100%.
Chris is going to keep training and teaching, right? So I get to have such a win that I get to help billions of people, even after I'm gone, with a profound confidence that cannot be purchased and it can't be faked. It's physical, baby. 10 push-ups is 10 push-ups. I don't care what you said. Let's see how many you do. Right?
Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.
Wait. Just last little bit. He's in a...
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
We can't do this all day, but we can. So he's an inventor and I'm an inventor. And I wanted to bring this because it's fun. I have a prototype process. Bring up a cell step. So the patented pitch on this is the patented pitch on this, just reduced so it fits in the shoe.
I'm so excited for this.
And you stood on it, and you stood on one leg.
Yep.
And which one was easier?
Yeah, I felt it a little bit, yeah.
With. Okay. Chris Chamberlain felt it with.
Yep.
And then he wore him around for, 4 hours. And then he took off his shoes and he walked to the bathroom and he said, I'm walking better than I was 4 hours ago because it's neural engrams. It's the code. It's the sequence. It's the connections. And so this here, and I just want to show it real quick. This is the first prototype. That's the first prototype. Right there. Okay.
You really wore through those, Jam.
Yes, I did. This is the second prototype. Okay. It's all based on this here. We won't go into it now, but these are the lines of intent, the one tension. This is what we're going to be producing. So you'll be able to cut it to your size. And now all we're doing now is figuring out the material because this prototype right here, when it came in and I put it on, I said, this is it. But the problem is it's not resilient enough, so it starts to flatten out with your body weight, so the effect starts to go away. But I got a prototype coming in the next, 2-3 weeks. If that material is correct, we're in business. And again, this is, if you want to help everyone, you want to get into footwear, right? This is the least expensive way to get into footwear. If you want to make sneakers, you need $20 million. If you want to do this, you don't even need $20,000. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And this fits in a Nike. It fits in an Adidas. It fits in a Vivo. It fits in a Zero. It fits in shoes. So if you're using this, then Nike is suddenly powered by Weck method. And what I'm going to do now, 2025, in great thank you and appreciation to you guys, because you are the force multiplier who at that critical stage led to a connection point to so many other people, 6 degrees of separation. And this puppy right here will help anybody who uses it. And that will give me the cash flow to go much faster and to go much further. I want to walk in Monday morning and I want to say, guys, here's the idea. 4 PM, I want 4 prototypes printed. And then they give me the iPhone and I drop it in the fishbowl and I see a bubble and I say, get back to work.
Before we end, I have a question for both of you. Thanks. And now, you guys are both inventors, right? Inventors of multiple successful products. If you had one piece of advice, or maybe 2, 1 to 2, because I don't want to go on much longer, but 1 to 2 pieces of advice for someone who has like a sick idea, a sick invention, and they know they can make it happen, what would that advice be?
I would keep it really simple. Just make it.
Yeah,
Fucking make it. Put it out there in the universe. Make it. Talk to other people about it, show it to other people.
Yeah.
Try to even see if hey, would you buy this? You think you'd buy this for $20, $30? All that kind of stuff.
You have
Get
to,
it out there as quick as you can.
You have to do that market research. What I would say is that there's 3 trains that have to leave the station, and that defines the sequence with which you do it if you're the little guy, all right? The first one is the intellectual property, right? You need to get a patent pending, right? A patent pending is invisible for 18 months. Nobody knows what you got because it hasn't been examined and published yet. So if you have patent pending on and Nike likes it, well, then they're rolling the dice if they want to knock you off or not, right? And they won't because it's the unknown. What if they have a patent and they can sue us? And we did it willfully, so it's 3 times damage. All right, so you don't share the idea until you have secured the intellectual property. Then you manufacture and you just make it, get it out there. Do you like it? What would you want to change? Blah, blah, blah. And that whole process is the early marketing. So intellectual property, manufacture, marketing.
You could use something like LegalZoom
Yes.
for trademarks and stuff. It
Yes,
doesn't have to be
exactly.
complicated. You don't need some crazy lawyer,
Right.
although that might help.
Well, it certainly will help.
Yeah.
Trust me.
The better your lawyer, the better you are. But
You know what? My lawyer is
you don't have to start there.
My lawyer is $800 an hour. And my business partner, when I'm on the phone with him writing a patent, like for the pulsars, that's like the most important thing to me. I'm on the phone and he's doing the math, like 5 minutes equals this many dollars. And I look at him and I go, okay, hey, Jeff. It was the guy Jeff at the time. And I'm like, Jeff, first the earth cooled. Then the dinosaurs walked around. I'm like, Marty, I'm going to spend every cent necessary.
I can imagine the vein in Marty's head.
Yeah. So you have to get in the game, and that's what you're saying, because a lot of people are not going to they're going to put their toe in the water, but they're not going to jump in. So you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And a mistake would be to have the most amazing thing that could have been proprietary and you gave it away. Well, then you're not going to benefit. You get the credit, but who cares?
I've had people show me some stupid stuff though. So I say make it, like I really think it's important to make it.
Yeah, but that's
and
a
even
non-disclosure
keep it-
agreement.
And maybe even keep it kind of private and close to you. But
what it is
it's okay to
what it
show
is-
us a couple people, I think.
Yes, but they signed a non-disclosure agreement that you downloaded off as a legal zone. Because now you have at least some recourse if the trust is betrayed. And it happens all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
Right? So, but one of the things you can do if you have invented something is you can call me, right? And book a consult. And I'll tell you, look, how much have you put in on this? Well, if it were me, I wouldn't put another cent in. But Alden Mills, who created the perfect push-up, I
had one of those.
I met him way back in 2005, and he was exhibiting, fully funded. So this was a big booth. He had a thing called the Body Rev, which was 2 handles that did that.
Don't we have one of those here? Am I tripping?
You probably have the other one. That's
I've
all
seen
metal.
something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, what you do is you do this.
Yeah.
Right? He showed it to me, and I was like, look, dude, I don't even see this. Like this, really? Like, how long are people going to do that? Like, really? My honest advice, brother, is, go back to the drawing board and figure out another way to do it, because you're just going to lose money on this thing. He goes back to the drawing board. He creates perfect push-up.
I had 2 of those, man.
His
I
boat
was
is
younger.
His boat is probably bigger than the cruise ship I was on, because perfect push-up hits such a big home run.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then Randy Hetrick from TRX, he called me up in 2003 and he's like, look, I'd like to come meet you. I got this new invention thing that I'm doing. He came down, and the advice I gave to him is I said, listen, because I didn't see straps. Like, I didn't think that would blow up, but it did. And the whole concept of, leaning back on straps and stuff, you regulate the weight. What I told Randy is I said, Randy, with your product, don't go to retail until you've done it in commercial, because your price point and, the newness of this, the consumer, you'll spend all the money in the world and you'll fill up, Costco, and they ain't going to sell them, and then you buying them back, and then you're out of business, right? So, and he then proceeded to have a meeting with Costco and okay. And then he's like, well, actually, we need to develop this more to create the demand so that we can sell it to the person who doesn't care and who's probably not even going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I've had a lot of experience on the patent front and the guerrilla marketing. What you want editorial advertisement. You want earned media. And why the BOSU Ball is so successful is because it's generic half ball that if I'm Fit Magazine, I got to frame the shot. I need a bench. I need some dumbbells. Throw a BOSU Ball in there. Now it's a fitness shot. So it's become a proprietary generic. And literally what I did was I carved out a whole new lane of surface training. That surface didn't exist, and now it does. And I bounced on that thing all the way to the point where 3-stage master plan. And I'm going to help so many people so profoundly that I get to be the best. And you want me to be the best. You need me to be the best. You want me on that wall. And Weck method begins on the wall. First thing we do is teach you to differentiate longest and strongest, find poise to pounce right now ready without getting tired, get perfect on both sides, and just play catch. Just play catch. And rope flow will tie it all together. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Check in next time. Boom.
Catch you guys later. Bye.